cousins in your grandma's living room saying, "Yo, man, I got this play. I wanna, if you just give me 4,800, I could make you 2 million." You like, it don't work like that, fam. You got to explain to him like, life isn't like that. Money isn't free, and no one's giving out opportunities. If it sounds too good to be true, it's really. And then he like, "Oh, you don't believe in my dreams."
People started saying like, "Oh, well, it's his money. He can do whatever he wants with it," which is like technically true. But I think that it's perfectly reasonable to go, look, you've made this amount of money. You have connections to certain people. At some point, you have something approximating an obligation to be like a decent person. If I make, 70 grand a year and my cousin asks me for 50 cents, I'm giving him 50 cents. Having money, the point of that is to put your people on.
He could give all his family members $2 million and just be like, okay, never ask me for anything again. And now like the family reunion is cool.
It's like, okay, cool. Yeah, I have $5,000 to give you. It would be no sweat off my back. Yeah, I can do that. But you gonna come back to me when that $5,000 plan you had or whatever you was gonna do with that $5K didn't work out, or you squandered it on some bullshit, and you gonna come back to me again asking for 10. And if I don't give you the 10, then
it's a red flag.
I don't think Cole is known in the worldly streets the way maybe even Kendrick is, and definitely not the way Nicki is. So if it was really a top three over the past like decade, it probably would be like a Nicki, Drake, and Kanye.
You redefining what the big three is.
Who over the last 10 years is dropping projects that are getting people's attention globally and across like every demographic? Not just doing big numbers within a particular
You
segment.
can't discount how much influence you can have within a sphere. So some of the biggest artists that kind of defined rap that later became faces of the movement probably weren't really selling albums like that in Dubai. I'm thinking like Notorious B.I.G. just because globalization was a little bit different. So
okay, yeah, in the past.
And now this nigga has like 3 movies about him and shit. Having the clout within a sphere within hip hop lends itself to a certain level of clout just by virtue of the fact that hip hop is what it is. So I do think that I do agree, and I've agreed a bajillion times on this one, that I do think Drake is different. Drake is there is no other Drake. There is no direct comparable to Drake in rap. If I had to pick one,
put another 2 people next to him and be like,
as rappers, like the only person that I think possibly, I mean, at that point you're looking at like Beyonce, Rihanna. But in rap, in terms of music, but in terms of rap, he doesn't have a comp. He doesn't have one. 100%. We've never seen what he's doing.
He's the Kendrick Hart of rap. But I think that when, like the example that you even gave of Pac and Biggie, it had to take time for them really to get that legendary status posthumously. If they've died and people didn't really know them like that internationally, across time, their legend can grow. And then so you retroactively look back and go, okay, here's how big they are now. I think all that still applies here. Like if people don't know you everywhere, you can't say that you're as influential as someone that people do know everywhere. Now, if it takes time for you to be known, then maybe your legend can grow past theirs. But
you, once again, like I feel like you are definitely, if we're talking about like a big three and why
what is it for you
in that big three?
Before we get into this, before Eddie brings up another tangent, I'm gonna introduce.
Talk about some other shit.
Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then we'll get right back to you, Josh, because I think you were finna spit some hot fire there. But welcome to Waving the Red Flag. We are the #1 old head podcast in the world. We are debating, what's hot and what's not in the music scene. That's what we're known for. Now, sucker. That's obviously why you all came here, specifically to hear our takes on that topic and nothing else. Tonight we got Alvin, Eddie, Josh, and we're going to discuss a plethora of topics, but we're kicking it off just talking about basically Drake, what it means to be influential, what it means to be an international icon. I believe you had some sound takes in response to Eddie on those
words. Take it away. Yeah, so
now to you with the weather.
So I just feel like what Eddie is saying is like low key just a tad. I mean, just a little disrespectful to J. Cole, because you're talking about like global influence in terms of like why. Yeah, it's just like, because for one, when we say big three, it's based on like the generation, basically the generation that they're representing, like the ones who've been holding it down for the last 10 years. Yes. Like, you have differences in like, oh, who's the bigger artist? Like, oh yeah, Drake can walk around the globe and everyone knows Drake. Nicki can walk around the globe and everyone knows Nicki. That's not necessarily what it's per se about, just in terms of like just their global recognition, but it's the artistry. their relevance, their ability to move the needle, their ability to sell copies. Can they drop whenever they want to and people gonna go crazy? You are very much so downplaying J. Cole's international audience, because it's niggas all over the world that fuck with J. Cole. Period.
Yeah, that's true about a lot of artists. It's music fans everywhere. But okay.
I mean,
so
like,
let me just.
I'm talking about this nigga could go to London and sell out that bitch. Announce the date right now.
He has London hits.
Sold the fuck out.
He has London hits, by the way. You know what I mean? He's charted.
Russ
I mean, what are we talking about?
Come on. Like, okay.
I mean, Russ is fine.
A lot of people,
I mean,
yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying. There's like lots of people tour internationally, and when you say sell something out, people choose their arenas based on what they know they can sell. I don't think that Cole could fill a stadium in London the way that Drake could. But again, I get stuck on the Drake thing.
Why?
Yeah, I'm not. I retract that, restrict that from the record. I shouldn't have said that.
The way that Drake could, like, oh my god, like no one's doing what Drake is. Drake is the top 3. He's 1, 2, and 3. Like what?
he's the father, son, of the Holy Ghost, my nigga. I don't know what to tell you. There's nobody else on the list. It's Drake, and Drake. That's it.
It's Drake.
Why'd you do this?
Aubrey, it's October's very own. That's it.
Josh, why'd you do this fucking like hip hop DX like writer from Yale voice when you did this shit?
That's what he reminded me of. Like, why are we like?
He's the only one talking about what's real in the streets.
But like, why are we culminating the entirety of someone else's success and the benchmark next to one other nigga who was an outlier who does a lot of pop and and strategically takes from other cultures and like, but it's the Drake effect. Even on the last fucking even like verse for verse, bar for bar with some rap shit, nobody's putting Drake over Cole. Well, not many people.
Lots of people.
Man, please.
Lots of people
ain't nobody talking about a Drake verse like they talking about these 2 last Cole verses.
See, now what you're talking about is subjective artistry, being an artist, right? It's that's for any avenue of art, you're gonna have that argument of like people being like, yeah, but this person, they really get it, they really make a great craft, and then you're gonna be like, this person is selling billions, you know what I mean? It's like the Marvel movie versus A24. It's like you can have that argument all day. The top movies is Marvel movies. So like, it's cool that you love Wes Anderson. They're not moving units like that.
Let me give a more objective argument, right? Okay. So a lot of rappers that are very popular just in the States, just within rap, don't sell as much as J. Cole. In order to sell what J. Cole sells, from a Spotify international spins perspective, you have to have global reach. So one, he sells more than a lot of artists that only have that. For example, Young Thug doesn't sell as much as J. Cole does. That's one. Okay. Two, there are Spotify global charts. I don't know where J. Cole falls on that one, because you typically see like the same people toward the top. I'm thinking like Taylor Swift, Drake, Bad Bunny. Like you see those at the top of them, and I know the top, but I don't know where it goes down there. But I would venture to say that if we looked at the global Spotify rankings, that J. Cole has some stuff on there. And I would probably say he probably has about as many as Kendrick does, even though I know for a fact Drake has way more than both of them. So I do think that you are semi downplaying it, but I do think your core argument being that Drake is leaps and bounds above him in terms of influence.
I think we all pretty much agree on that. Maybe let me even just take off the Drake argument and just like, if he wasn't in the list, I guess I'm just okay. Let me just make sure I understand your stance. Are you saying that when you talk about the top 3, what does holding it down mean? Are we talking about units sold? Are we talking about selling out arenas? Are we talking about consistency, like consistent performance across time? Is that part of what it is? Or because I would have put Future on that list and higher up. Or even ASAP would have been pretty high up on that list, though he's kind of like just not
ASAP got like one hit, man. ASAP has one hit and one top selling album. Long live ASAP and fucking problems. Like that's
okay. Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
But to Josh's point, I mean, we're old heads in hip hop now. I think we're getting a little bit fuzzy on exactly when like people dropped and all that kind of stuff. But I do think that when you're talking about a big 3, you have to be era specific. So like, I'm not going to just say that somebody who's bigger, who was making music during that time, is a part of that big 3. Kanye was dropping music when I was in middle school. J. Cole got hot when I was in college. Senior year, high school, college. You know what I'm saying? That was like, Friday Night Lights, the warm up, that kind of shit I was in college, man. So like they're different eras. So I think eras has a big part of not there. But he's in their era because again, he got hot when I was in college.
Yeah. Oh, he's 100% in that era. I feel like in terms of my measurement, I think, I'm not sure, but I have a suspicion that Gambino might have more.
I think I put him top 10.
Recognition.
I put him top 10 most definitely.
Yeah, but I think he might have more name recognition than Jermaine actually.
Name music or like
in terms of knowing that he is a musician is kind of the metric that I'm using here. I think more people know Gambino than they know Cole.
As a musician, more people know Gambino versus Cole as a musician.
Yes.
I think you're speaking as a fan. And I fuck with I fuck with Childish Gambino.
I like them both.
J. Cole is primarily an artist. Childish Gambino
and basketball player
is basketball player.
Married man.
Professional. Not the NBA, but still professional. Like, nah,
I'm joking, bro.
Like,
why are you acting like that's part of his catalog? Yeah, and as a matter of fact, he's an athlete, so that shit don't matter.
And
but he is an athlete.
You want to pull all this?
That's a brand recognition thing. That's a brand recognition problem. You know what I'm saying?
Nobody know Cole.
International basketball player.
Bro,
you ask people in that league. You ask people in that league.
They're showing up. They're in the stands. They're in the bleachers.
For Cole. For Cole.
Yeah, you're right.
You don't even know what.
But seriously, they are though.
Like, what are you talking about?
That's true. That's true. But when you play basketball internationally, people don't fucking know you. If they knew you, you would be
unless you're like the top motherfuckers, unless you're like fucking Doncic or like the Gasol brothers. I agree with you. You have to be like the top of the top for people who aren't NBA scouts to know who you are. If you're
playing internationally, that's because that's not to say you're trash, but that's JV. Like you're not in the NBA, so you're playing internationally. You make good money. You can travel the world. It's great, but it's a secondary.
I'm not going that far because there are definitely leagues that are just as good from a league perspective, even though the players are nowhere as good. So I'm thinking like, but overall, you're right. So I just didn't want to diss I just didn't want to diss Spain, Greece, Italy. I didn't want to diss those guys because basketball head over here. But overall, you're right. Okay. Yes, and they make good fucking money, man. This guy's making like $10 million a year playing, in like Spain and Greece, But they're the stars.
It's a good career. It's a good career. It's the equivalent of like, Tommy Lee Jones making like coffee commercials in Japan. この惑星の子供たちと呼ばれる存在にはおはようございます超授業だりんやそう全身でぶつかっていかなくてはならないもしよかったら付き合って声が小さい教師になる缶コーヒーのボス Like that's people make money in the international market. But it's some shit that you do because you're not popping in the States. Like that's what
this nigga. I just want to just backtrack a little bit and say that like Josh, I ultimately agree with you. I'm moving this shit along, but like Josh, I agree with you, and I just feel like we're gonna hit a brick wall with Eddie and what influence is. So like I'm hanging back, but like I'm with you, Josh. I ain't want to leave you out there by yourself.
Hey man,
I support you.
I'm gonna say the good brother Edward Overgold got it.
I don't know nothing.
Hey man, did y'all see the Budden interview? Or at least clips from the Budden interview?
He rapping for the children. And that's dog, I had to look up how old this was when I finished listening to the album. Mm-hmm. You are 36. Your birthday is in 20 days. I Googled that too. You will be 37 years old. Get the away from some of these younger niggas and stop these 25-year-olds. You're a 37-year-old billionaire. I get it that you appeal to the world. Loving about Cole, like my shit is happening in reverse. Like with Cole, he used to rap about kid shit. I'm a grown ass, like real Jersey City. I want to hear how you lost your fucking virginity. And then he started to grow up. Mm-hmm. And then the rapping sounded like an adult rapping. I'm want to hear adult Drake rapping for adult people.
So fucking spot on, man. Just like why is Drake still trying to ride waves instead of creating waves? Why is he as a artist that relies on introspection a lot in his music, not looking at himself differently, not maturing his views on how he views himself in the spaces that he operates in? There was a lot of stuff about how like he needs to stop fucking hanging with 23-year-olds and shit and dating 25-year-olds and kind of step into the realm of an almost 40-year-old man. Budden was fucking spitting, man. Like, and I don't even agree with all his takes like that, but
oh yeah,
the motherfucker was.
Budden, to be fair, he definitely he's slightly better than a broke clock. He's right like 3 to 4 times a day, I'd say, out of 12.
But what I will say is what Drake does do really well, and I will commend him for this, is staying tapped in with the younger generation and understanding what they're doing, and also giving that handout or that hand back, or like still having this handout to the younger generation.
Yeah, putting people,
because that's like a symbiotic relationship at the end of the day. Like that helps him and it helps a new person.
He's a vampire, essentially.
He don't be putting these motherfuckers on, man. Like the OVO sweatshop is. The OVO, okay, you're right. There are some people who've definitely benefited from the Drake effect. Like I think, like Migos, Weeknd, Migos. But then I'm thinking about all those artists that like he siphoned off like their best shit that never reached their full potential because they were contributing to like the OVO sweatshop.
Do you think they would have if they had?
I think they probably could have got I think they probably could have got a couple, 2-3 good projects, right?
I saw a clip from Lil Wayne when he was on the podcast. He was talking about when he signed Drake. He was like, "Yo, when he first met up with Drake, like the first couple times, like, yo, I fuck with what you said. I really like the song. I really like what you did there." He was like, "No, I'm not gonna put you out yet because you're not ready yet. Like, I'm not gonna put out a one-hit wonder because you're not ready." I think that's what Drake might have been kind of doing, or like half-assedly doing without like per se signing somebody. But Lil Wayne was like, "No, I like what you're doing, but you're not ready yet. We gotta continue to hone that craft. We gotta continue to figure this thing out.
Create a catalog.
So you'll be an artist who has longevity. When it comes to Drake will hop on some popping shit that's on like
anybody.
Yeah, damn near anybody. As long as it's popping, and he can hop on it and kill it and expose that
so
artist.
I don't think he stole it.
The whole world.
Yeah.
He'll
he stole their flame. They just weren't gonna have anything anyway, but they got one really big hit and he just boosted that.
So I remember when Migos was local, I saw them open for 2 Chainz. And this was in their neck of the woods. This was Gwinnett County, Georgia. Small club venue. And they opened for 2 Chainz. People booed the fuck out of them. They got through their set, but people are like throwing trash at them. People like throwing like drinks and glow sticks at them.
I'm not
like
surprised.
people are not fucking with their shit. You got Quavo out there repping Gwinnett County hard. Like, y'all know I'm from Gwinnett County. I'll never forget that shit. And because it was this guy standing next to me, he said, "Who gives a fuck?" Like, I'll never forget that shit.
From off screen. Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
Oh, shit.
Now,
wow, Drake, Gwinnett County, you really had it hard, huh, buddy?
Yeah. Drake hopped on their shit, and it was like the next week after that. Drake hopped on a remix with them, and they just blew the fuck up. Like, he made them into something that like people in their neck of the woods thought was some corny shit.
Yeah.
And then like he hopped on the Versace remix, and now it's like, oh shit, these guys are like they ran Metro Atlanta rap for like years. Like they were like the guys.
But the thing about the Migos though is they had hits on like just on the back burner because they had came out with Fight Night right after that, and then a couple other goddamn songs that had the streets buzzing.
They also do shit. They also do shit on the side too, man. Like they be doing reference tracks for motherfuckers and shit. Like
what's that?
Like Ape Shit is like the most famous one. Like that was supposed to be a Migos song, so they did like a reference track, just like a beat, like a general flow, like how the bridge is supposed to go, how the hook is supposed to go, just skeletal, like kind of like and so they do a lot of shit like that behind the scenes, and then they just sell it to other folks. So like they stay hot, they stay tapped in. But Drake is the one that really like put them on. So he creates lanes.
Yeah.
And Weeknd, I mean, he stole tons of catalog from him, and the Weeknd still is like, I mean, he's like maybe just a category below the Beyoncés and Drakes.
Honestly, of
music.
And also my favorite Drake diss. My favorite Drake diss is the diss against the Weeknd, by the way.
Oh shit, what'd he say?
5 a.m. in Toronto. That's a fucking Weeknd diss.
It is? Oh,
yeah.
Shit, okay. I didn't even know Drake does Drake just sneak dissing a bunch of people? Because I never really thought of him as actually dissing people. Because I'm like, I don't know, he seems like a friendly guy. I don't know why he would do that.
No, that motherfucker, he got one sneak diss per album minimum. In addition to like the overt beefs, like like the back-to-back shit, with Meek.
Like Meek Mill, I was like, okay, this is a beef. Everything else, I was like, oh, that's you guys are reading too much into this. He's just talking about women in general, not a specific lady.
Now he be talking about specific motherfuckers, like he name dropping.
Oh yeah,
but
okay, apparently.
But yeah, I think we've devoted a lot of time to this. So let's go on to another one.
Drake.
Let's just do every topic that we do in the context of Drake, like the lens of Drake. Anybody want to talk about male suicide?
Drake is pretty sad, you know what I'm saying? He definitely he definitely is the soundtrack for suicide, I think, in multiple
that's exactly the effect I was going with that transition, Josh. So thank you for giving it to me. I appreciate you so much.
All right,
I want to talk about the Jay-Z wouldn't give his cousin $5,000 if y'all want to.
Take it away, Alvin. Or are we?
Yeah. So Jay-Z not giving his cousin $4,800. Yeah.
Right. Some people haven't evolved past 16. They still stuck in that place. But you evolving every year. So that may be a threat to them. Subconsciously or consciously, Nick Kev acting funny because blah, blah, blah. You have to navigate that. You have cousins. You got to go home for Thanksgiving and people are talking to you like Kevin Hart. And you going home for solace. You want family.
You're going home for peace of mind.
You're going home for peace of mind.
And they don't give you that
and your
because
cousins,
you're not
your cousins in your grandma's living room saying, yo, man, I got this play. I want to, if you just give me, you know what I mean? 4,800, I could make you 2 million. You like, it don't work like that, man. But you got to explain to him, like, life isn't like that. Money isn't free and no one's giving out opportunities. If it sounds too good to be true, it's really, and then he like, oh, you don't believe in my dreams.
Twitter people, bro, like, they took that shit so far out of fucking context, like in the overall conversation that him and Kevin Hart was having. Like, the thing that they were talking about, one was, when I go back home, like, yo, I'm going back home for peace, for solace. People are looking at me like the entertainer, the entity, when it's Sean Carter in front of you, like, it's your cousin. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then, so that's number one. And then two, the example that Jay-Z was speaking on specifically with the expectations of people, family members who do have access to you, that know that you got, an abundance of money. It's like the example that he said, which was exaggerated, was, yo, let me get $5,000. I'll give you back $2 million. I turned into $2 million. Like, and then people just took that shit for like not even face value to actually understand the fucking analogy that he was presenting, but just said, oh, Jay-Z won't give his cousin $5,000. Nigga, you a billionaire. That's where, if you do the math, that's where.
That's 2 cups of coffee if you make it.
Like, bro, come on. Like, yo, what?
Agreed.
See, my pushback is that I think that the conversation became about something, because I agree. I think it got taken out of context and it started just becoming a conversation about billionaires shouldn't exist. Like you should be giving more of your money back to folks. Like, what do you owe it became that conversation. But I think once it became that conversation, I think people had some stupid, like, pro Jay-Z takes that were dumb.
Agreed.
Like people started saying like, oh, well, it's his money. He can do whatever he wants with it, which is like technically true. But I think that it's perfectly reasonable to go, look, you've made this amount of money. You have connections to certain people. At some point you have something approximating an obligation to be like a decent person. If I make, 70 grand a year and my cousin asks me for 50 cents, I'm giving him 50 cents, like almost every time. I understand that there's situations where this ain't a cousin that really was ever close to you at all, and they just happen to have access to you. Cool. That's a fair point. A cousin who really is not about to be shit and who's definitely going to lose your money. Sure. But having money, the point of that is to put your people on. So like, just give it, or make a trust where you have your family apply and they get, better rates than the average person on the streets. But if you're just treating them like strangers, that deserves some judgment. If that were the case, which I agree, it wasn't necessarily in that interview.
Yeah, in the interview, and I think a lot of people, I don't have anything to add to either of your takes because both of you are 100% right in my estimation. But just and I also think, and this is something that I will say, and I'm going to be careful on how I say it. I think too many people think they have more money than they do. So a lot of people are like, I'm the person in my family with money, and like they're always asking me for money, and like like most of you have no idea what it's like to have real money. Just to be honest with you, most people don't have real money.
And let them know.
So you don't know what that feels. You don't know what that
y'all
feels like,
think
right?
y'all me, but y'all really not.
I'm just saying you don't know what that feels like. You don't know what it's like when like you go home and like people are like, I need $13,000
before you like hello.
Or like when you go home and like this is your downtime and like you're relaxing and you want to chill, and people are like, yeah, you know, I just don't know how I'm gonna make it if somebody don't help me out.
Yeah.
So I'm just going
now,
through it real bad, man. If only I just had about a good, you know, nothing's crazy, man. $20,000, man. That's all.
If you had it, man. If anybody around happened to have that amount of money,
if somebody just so happened to be able to give me $2,000 right now, like, and it's like. That's most. I'm just, and again, just being honest, just like, and I know everybody on Twitter is rich. Most of y'all don't have that kind of money. Most of y'all aren't living that life. Even and again, that's a very micro scale compared to Jay-Z, right? That's like what I'm describing is like, oh my God, you're like senior associate at a law firm money. Most of y'all don't have that. You know, most of y'all don't have doctor money. And once you start doing that, yes, it does like weigh on you, man. When you're like a surgeon and like you're like fucking working, you know, 80 hours a week to make your really good money, to make your 400K. Sometimes you want to fucking go like chill and like relax, and like people don't let you do that a lot. And I think that if people really live that life, they would realize that sometimes that does weigh on you. However, when you get Jay-Z money, you can navigate that a lot easier. Because again, Jay-Z could give all his family fuck you money and it wouldn't hurt him at all, and just say like, never talk to me again. He could give all his family members $2 million and just be like, okay, never ask me for anything again. And now like the family reunion is cool. But
no, okay, I just want to say, bro, like, because now like the thing is even if you give people that money, that could be like the worst thing that happened to them, because you got to think about a person's own life standards that they have for themselves. Because like a lot of people who would like get rich, they would kill themselves in about a week or so, or like a year, because they have very bad habits. Like money is, as much as money would just make problems, some problems go the fuck away, like just like that. That's not the end all be all of happiness and personal fulfillment. It's really not. And I'm saying that as a nigga that need money. Like, I get it, but the other piece of that too is just like, it's not even necessarily all about money. It's like, you have people asking for you for shit, asking for you for stuff. It's like, okay, cool, yeah, I have $5,000 to give you. It would be no sweat off my back. Yeah, I can do that. But you gonna come back to me when that $5,000 plan you had, or whatever you was gonna do with that 5K, didn't work out, or you squandered it on some bullshit. And you're going to come back to me again asking for 10. And if I don't give you the 10, then I'm going to be the bad guy. I'm still going to be the fucking villain. Because, this nigga had it.
That's relationships. No. Like, that's what everything is. So, like, I feel like, okay, I agree with what Alvin was saying. And I also think that it can become a big burden if you got 50 cousins and they all asking you for $2,000 and you make, $300,000 a year. That's a problem. You know what I'm saying? Especially if half them cousins aren't really even nobody you really give a fuck about. But in the case of the giving away 4K or whatever, and then they come back and it's like, you can say no the second time. If you say
that's my point.
Jump,
that's exactly my point, right? So like, it's a big difference. You're not the, then you have a reason. Yeah, you're not the villain. You're not the villain if somebody squandered a huge gift from you and you didn't
say
give
no.
No. You're a villain in their mind. You're a villain in their mind. You're not a villain.
Yeah.
So I don't care about your individual perception. I care about general trends of like morality and like how I feel about myself in those situations. And I think that a lot of people would be happier if they navigated those situations in that manner, right? So if I give you $2 million, you squander it, and then you come back and ask me for $10 million, and I say no, it's no, and I'm not a villain. And more people should be able to feel comfortable in themselves to understand that they're not a villain in that situation. They've given a person life.
You say no to that initial. If you say I'm not giving nothing to none of y'all,
I'm not giving you $5,000.
Right. That is some scumbag shit in certain contexts. Given all of the other shit that was said, like give them a chance.
In most contexts,
we've also got this like we're going straight to this lottery shit of like, if I give this motherfucker $10,000, he gonna destroy his whole life. It's like, first of all, not necessarily, because plenty of people need to change. Like, people give chances. People put their people on all the time, right? You've got a little cousin who loves making cupcakes, and he wants to start his cupcake business. Normally, that would take him going into debt, trying for years. Maybe he doesn't even get to try it till he's 26, 27. Oh, but Uncle Jay-Z, maybe he could give me 10 grand to get this shit started. I've got a business plan. Here's what I'm going to do, blah, blah, blah. Now I've got a little bit of nepotism money, and I've been put on, and I've built something like Jaden did with the water shit. Like, you can put your people on. That's what generational wealth is that we always talk about. So like, everybody's not going to squander the shit. So,
but that's what they do though. Like okay. So for one, oh my God. Okay. I honestly believe that that's what they do. And Kevin Hart, Jay-Z even kind of like spoke on it in that interview. It's like, no, if you come at me with a business plan, if you have an action item to get yourself, it's like, I'm not saying no just for the sake of being a dickhead or being evil. But if you just saying $10,000 and I'm flip it and give you $2 million next quarter, that's not how money works. I know that's bullshit. No, I'm not doing that. That's a bad investment.
100%.
But if you come at me with a business plan, that's absolutely, that's what I'm here for. That's what we have this money for. We do that. But a lot of people are still taking it in terms of just, oh no, you have the money. Why aren't you giving it to this person that's asking for it?
I agree.
You're an evil person. Eat the rich. God damn it. I knew it. Fuck all you.
You're right. I'm with you 100%. Yeah. 100%. I think that's a stupid like the people who are saying that, it's a dumb take. Just give away everything that you have. Dumb take. On the other side, the people who are saying it's his money, he can do whatever the fuck he want. Fuck them kids. Stupid. But if you go in the middle of like, hey, look, I'm willing to put everybody in my family on to the extent that I have money to do it. I'll employ y'all. Y'all can work because a lot of successful folks like that, they just go, cool. You want $5,000? Here's a job. I'll pay you twice the market hourly rate for this shit, but you got to show up and do the job every day. I think that's perfectly fair. Like, and I think that's how it should be. But if it's just fuck my family, like,
and plus you can't even keep on your like. It's like, yeah, absolutely. Like when you do get money, you do need to give back. Absolutely. Not even just the family, but charity. Like you need to give back. That's how you gain. But on just like on some like real shit, like I would say, hey nigga, I don't know how it is to have money, but one day I plan on that.
I thought about it before though.
But just saying, like, bro, if you were to give away like $1 million that everybody asked for, like you don't. That's not a sustainable business model for your own finances. And it's not like he has $1 billion liquid. That's not also. That's
somebody did the money, man. Somebody did the money.
People always
Jay-Z
use that shit.
And then also like he probably has assets that are extremely movable. A lot of Jay-Z stuff is stakes in companies. So outside of SEC violations, a lot of that shit is fairly liquid. Like you can move portfolios in a day now. You know what I mean? Again, you gotta stuff like that is a lot less movable. But again, a lot of Jay-Z's wealth is stakes in companies and stuff in like publicly traded stuff and shares that can be moved and like even in privately like owned companies. Like he can move shares, and a lot of that stuff is very quick to move. And again, the only barrier would be with like SEC, filings and all that kind of stuff. If you're a huge stakeholder, you can't just like offload all that kind of stuff because then it impacts the market. But he's probably liquid enough that like if a lot of family members wanted to get like $100,000, like by the end of the week, he could do it. But that all of that is just context to what I think you've already both described. And I think both of you are right. Like I think we've gotten to a very good point in this facet of the conversation. I think
as a podcast, we know what's going on. We really do. We really added all the nuance. This is really the only takes that anybody needs to hear. It's just us three.
The Grand Inquisitor knows all, sees all. My nigga, that's us. That's we.
That's facts.
Who? We, nigga.
That's them. Hymns.
Yeah, we are the number one old head hip hop and business liquidity podcast of all time. Like we are one of the podcasts of all time, to be sure.
One out of the three of us is rich. Guess which one?
True.
80 Budden. 80
Damn
Budden.
Straight.
Who could it be?
Look at it. Look at the background. Look at this background. This motherfucker got a fireplace in his bedroom.
He is exploiting us. I just want y'all to know that. So when y'all talk about
I'm not giving you 48 grand.
He is exploiting our labor to make himself rich. That's how the rich stay rich. They exploit the working man.
Nobody want to work no more. Nobody want to work no more. Just lazy. Just lazy. Damn, if you want it, earn it. Stop buying avocado toast, Alvin. God damn. Wasting all your money on Starbucks. Little frappes and shit. You could have been on like me if you just worked harder, you know? Pull yourself up by your shoe straps. Your little Velcros, you know? Pull yourself up.
Hilarity.
Damn. By them sandal straps.
What y'all think about Trump in the hood as it relates to SEXYY Red?
Do you think more people are going to support Trump now in the hood
like
or
Trump.
no?
Yeah, they support him in the hood. Because at first, I don't think people was fucking with him like they thought he was racist, saying little shit, and, you know, against women. But once he started getting black people out of jail and giving people their free money, oh, baby, we love Trump. We need him back in office.
I think some of it is holdover from that era where, like, Trump was, like, the only billionaire that black people knew. When, like, Trump was like super good in the hood. When he was like hanging out with Shaq and shit, and like him and 50 Cent were cool. He was like the only billionaire that like rappers knew for like a solid 5 years. So I think a lot of it is holdover from like that. And then I think a lot of people have a respect for what they consider to be his straight talk. Like he just says it like it is kind of stuff. And then I think people are over indexing on the fact that he gave them checks. So you put all that together. So you put all that together, and I think it's a recipe for less educated voters to like just be like, oh yeah, like Trump is that guy. But you know, I don't put much.
Somebody say like going in heavy on SEXYY Red for that take is like it's a dumb take, it's a wrong take, it's a bad take, but also
it's also unfair. You know.
It's unfair. It's in a comedy situation. It's from somebody who's a musician, and it's kind of like, is she really the one moving the needle? Like, you know, and a lot of people also think similarly. I mean, I think it should be criticized, but I don't know if it's maybe that's the person that we want to be like, oh, she was the January 6th. Like,
I think it is kind of important to at least highlight it a little bit, because there are a lot of people who look up to a SEXYY Red, but SEXYY Red is also the voice of people, of the voice of a lot of people. She knows what's going on.
Like
in the
people
hood,
agree with her. What she
people
said
agree
is
with her, but she's also representing like kind of like what's currently going on, like people's mindsets, methodologies, that how they think of, you know, in a certain demographic. But for her to get on like publicly and say some dumb nigga shit to other dumb niggas who just want to talk about dumb nigga shit.
When you don't start tripping and shit, call me a racist, because I don't mean nigga in a disrespectful way. I mean it as a general term for ignorant motherfucker.
And, you know, shout out to her. But it's just like,
That's
yo.
Yeah. And you know what, to be fair, Theo Vaughn and that whole like kind of white podcast ecosystem, you know what, SEXYY Red coming on and saying, yeah, the hood loves Trump probably actually is some kind of net negative influence. Like, you're right. Like, that's not nothing. That's that moves the needle a fair bit.
Also, I will say that it's just functionally wrong. Like the numbers in the polling is that like black people of basically every socioeconomic and educational status overwhelmingly don't like Trump. They overwhelmingly did not support Trump. So like it's also just false, right? So,
but I think that's in part because I think that she's kind of I think she's getting at something that is true among black people, which is that if you remove just the racism against black people shit of Trump, is a lot more people that would fuck with Trump.
You're actually probably right.
Don't actually give a fuck about his
You're actually probably right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a fair
the immigration
fair
shit, the transphobia shit, the ableism shit, the
if you get
homophobia
rid of all that
the
shit,
misogyny. Like if you just got rid of the anti-black shit
towards other world leaders who have almost gotten us into like a fucking World War III. If you take away all that shit,
he'd be a pretty good guy, honestly. Yeah.
I mean, but the thing is, just to take it back to SEXYY Red a little bit, or just I guess her comments, or you know what, fuck, not even necessarily about her, but it still is just this kind of like, what have you done for me lately? And the presidency on our level, well, 2 out of the 3 of our levels, like our lives aren't really that much impacted by the president per se. So, but to get the stimulus checks while Trump just so happened to be in office, that was a good look for him. And that happens to any president when you actually touch the lives of millions and millions, like the majority of Americans with some tangible shit. If you put some money in, if you put money in the pockets of tangible, in a tangible fashion for Americans, they're going to remember that. You always get all the praise in the world. if a fucking earthquake happens in Hawaii while you're the president and whatever entity didn't act fast enough, nigga, it's your fault. Whatever good happens, and you might get some of the credit for it. Whatever bad thing happens for it, nigga, it's your fault. President, why didn't you put on a cape and fly down to that motherfucker and hand out paper towels? You know what I'm saying?
That's good.
So,
yeah, true. Yeah. I mean, what do the streets feel about Biden with the student loan forgiveness stuff?
Man, nigga, bruh.
So you talking about the streets, or you talking about sedity niggas? Because like, I also want to just point out that the streets don't have student loans,
right?
So the streets don't give a fuck about student loans. I just want to let y'all know that shit, right? I think niggas really need to know, and I'm
the streets is a spectrum because it's not just
the streets. The streets don't have student loans.
Okay.
Let me tell y'all something right now. Let me tell y'all something right now.
Bro, you had
because I do have grad school loans. I have grad schools from my first stint in grad school. I don't have undergrad loans, and my MBA was free. So when I was in undergrad, the easiest dog whistle to really know if somebody was actually from the hood or not was whether or not they had student loans.
Yeah.
Because if you go to a private American school, they all have need-based aid. So So even if I didn't get a scholarship, my broke ass was not going to be paying to go to school. So the streets.
So if you are from the street and you have made it to college, you're not paying much anyway. Yeah. Okay. Fair point. So I don't mean the streets then. I just mean, I think if you want people to go back to the office, you got to pay them more. You got to start. You have to renegotiate what that looks like because you're now asking for. Yeah, right. But you got to think about it like to ask somebody to go back to the office for the same pay. You are saying here's worse conditions. Here's more money that you have to spend to get into the office and more of your time that you have to sell us for the same amount, right? You work 40 hours a week, but your commute is an additional 7 hours on top of that. It's like you're getting paid the same amount to do 7 additional hours of work.
And also just a pro tip for young people that may be getting ready to enter, the professional workforce or people that may be looking for like additional stuff, include your commute when you're factoring in like your pay quote, right? So like if I'm thinking about like what I make hourly, I'm including how much I want to be paid as if my commute is an extra hour if my commute is an hour, right? So think about your pay like that. If you want
50 an hour, you're including the commute within that essentially.
Yep. That's how and when, especially like when you're negotiating for like your next salary, 100% include that if you have a commute and you're not work from home.
Yeah.
Because Eddie's 100% right on that shit. 100%.
How would you actually communicate that though? Because like if you're actually negotiating your salary in the realm of in that realm, you can't just come forth and be like and show your full hand like, well, yes, I've actually been commuting about an hour to work each way and that way. They don't give a fuck. So
no, you do that. You don't tell them that's why you ask for more money. You don't tell them.
It's just an internal calculation.
But how do you communicate that though? That's what I'm asking.
You just say your number.
I just say a number and I say some shit like, we're a bit far apart based on, my level of experience and education. I don't think this number is commensurate with what I would be getting if I were to continue to play my field in the market. So I would like XYZ figure. Can we get a little bit closer there? Is that something that you'd be willing to bring back to the hiring manager? Like something along those lines. I don't say like, look, man, I got to drive an hour here. You need to pay me more.
I'm pretty sure.
Not anymore. Not anymore. I don't say that anymore. Like I may have made those mistakes
depending on
before.
Where you're applying.
Yeah.
I feel like depending on where you're applying, you could say that like cleanly and just be like, yeah, look, it's a great job. I'm interested in it, and I think that I can, I can give you all my skills, especially if you know you have a skill set that matches the job well. If you're not desperate for that particular job, and you go, look, you guys are a bit far away from where my community is. Given that,
man.
We need another 5K on there.
Because you know what's gonna happen. You get the wrong spot. They'll be like, oh, we'll move you.
Oh,
I don't want to move. I just want more.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I'm like, I don't want to move. I just want you to pay me more. Like, so you got to be explicit because like there are companies that are like, oh yeah, man, I completely understand that. Cool. So here's our consultant for relocation, and we got a nice little package put together for you, so you can move a little bit closer, and then you can be in the office 4 days a week. So but again, like you say, it's nuance. It's nuance. You gotta.
It depends on the place because the place is below that level, but above But I think, knowing your value is definitely very important. Knowing like what your actual skill set is and your market value is, and asking for what you're worth is very important. But it is a delicate dance, of course. And I think the advice you gave was real good.
Yeah, I pride myself on giving good advice. And with that being said, if if you're a hip hop artist that has failed to go beyond the introspection of a 23-year-old college dropout, you may be waving a red flag. However, if you are a business professional giving good advice, looking out for the family, perhaps even loaning them $5K when they need it, you might be waving a green flag, so to speak. This has been Alvin. This has been Eddie. This has been Josh for Waving the Red Flag podcast. Thank you for tuning in and spending some time with us. Please make sure that you join us on Patreon. Tune into the lives. It's a good time. We get into a lot of hijinks. Some of it carries over, but a lot of it does not. So if you want to get some insights into what we're talking about there, please make sure that you tune
Behind the
in.
scenes.
Catch us on YouTube, catch us on Spotify. After dark. Make sure that if you're interested, again, you join that Patreon so you can join in on us with other communities. We have a Discord now. Eddie, did I miss anything?
You can join the community on Spotify and YouTube as well if you want that bonus content. Yeah.
That is cool.
Like, comment, subscribe. Did we do that? I think
you did. Notification bell.
Yeah, notification.
Look, man.
Click that thing.
Yeah, click it.
If I got to tell you that, are we really putting out quality content if I got to tell you to subscribe?
Ooh.
People don't think about it.
That's true. Repetition, man.
Come on,
if
man.
we don't ask for it,
yeah.
some people just won't do it,
See and
we
say.
gotta let
You know what? That shit would be. You're absolutely
101.
right. You absolutely right. Because it'll be some nigga be like, well, y'all niggas ain't tell me to subscribe. I ain't know y'all wanted me to do that. I ain't even know.
I was watching the videos.
I've been watching all the time. I tune in all the time, motherfucker. I ain't know y'all wanted a nigga to subscribe. I got you though.
Let them know.
Smash that like button.
I've been watching y'all for 2 years. I finally subscribed to y'all niggas, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I was on the fence. Yeah, it's like marriage. You got to ask, right? You got to propose. How's she gonna know otherwise? That's it.
Facts.
Big old.
All right. Peace.
Factotum.
That goddamn J. Cole, motherfucking Drake. That goddamn first person shooter. That shit go hard, bro. I tell you. J. Cole killed that shit. The only listenable track on that fucking album, damn it. In my opinion.
It's a red flag.